7 o'clock day. Top of the morning from the newsroom of Regional Radio and DeWittDailyNews.com. I'm Seth Lawrence with this expanded local newscast brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters, and the morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. The DeWitt County Board has approved its fiscal year 24 budget. DeWitt County Administrator Dee Rentmeister on the WHOW Morning Show Monday told Regional Radio the budget looks great again this year, even though there were some new wrinkles to the annual budget, like no cash bail and added revenue thanks to the wind farm.
Oh, it looks great again this year. I've said it in the past, and I'll continue to say it. Our elected officials and appointed office holders do a great job submitting their budgets to us and trying to keep expenses in line. The wind farm, the wind towers did come into effect this year. Sandy Schlosser, the supervisor assessments, did put those on at 50%, which anticipates an increase in tax dollars of $12,160,000. So when we put the budget together, that definitely helped us with our anticipation of reduced money coming in from the Cash Bail Reform Act.
According to Rentmeister, the no cash bail was supposed to go into effect last year, but was held up because it was challenged in the court system. By the time it was upheld and then implemented this fall, the budget process was all but wrapped up.
Started last year. We reduced several line items and that usually affects the general fund. We did reduce some revenues in the fines and fees coming in last year. The cash bail didn't take effect till September of this year. So since we had already planned for it hitting in the last year's budget, we just continued with this year. So we were kind of set up for it anyway, and we did that a year ahead of time. The budget does, by September, we're pretty close to having it set. It was really hard to follow how that could have affected us going on. So we're just going to have to keep a really good eye on it this coming year and see where it lands.
The wind farm dollars are going to benefit the county. Rentmeister points out that will allow them to keep the levy steady, which is already one of the lower levies in the area.
Actually, what that does is it increases the actual EAV that we use. So when we go to figure out the different levies associated with our funds, we can get more dollars for the same levy rate. We can keep our levies then pretty consistent with what we've been doing for the last 3 years. Anticipated county rate, it will stay at 70 cents. Last year, which is the year that we're in now, the levy came in at 0.69, and then the year before it came in at 0.70. So we have been able to utilize tax dollars increases. We saw an increase in our host fees, so that helped offset. So we're able to keep our levy rates pretty consistent then, and still have money to do the things that each office needs to operate their department. The taxpayers of DeWitt County should be very proud of the elected officials and appointed department heads for holding the line and being able to, stay at that 70-cent rate. That's just, I think it's unheard of in today's world. And, you asked me if I looked at other counties. I haven't this year, but I know other counties our size, they're at $1 easily. I think that everyone's done a great job of asking for what they need and being able to continue to operate and serve the citizens of the county.
Rentmeister points out a lot of people have the perception that budgeting dollars are flexible, but most of the time they are in fact not that flexible. The wind farm dollars will have some flexibility attached to them, but there are areas of the budget that need to be funded and funded at certain levels.
Just like our corporate fund. The maximum rate can be 27 cents. That of all the tax dollars collected, up to 27 cents can go to the general fund. We've been very, very fortunate, and we watch that budget. That corporate levy really operates all the departments except the highway department. They do have their own levies to operate. We've kept that rate at 25 cents for the last 4 years. So we're not at the maximum, which is great. But then you have, like I said, you have the highway department. They have their own money that operates all the updates and upgrades to the roads and stuff. So money collected for that can only go to the highway department.
Right.
The same with, we have a mental health levy. That money's collected. It can only be used for mental health. The Friendship Center, they also have their own levy. So those funds, they total 70 cents total. But when they're collected, they cannot be, you can't say, oh, well, I'm short on the general fund, so I'm going to take from highway. Can't happen.
The COVID dollars that have been debated over the last few years have allowed the county to take care of things like building improvements and law enforcement investments, as well as upgrades to the 911 center at the county building. Rentmeister continues to praise county leadership for conservative budgeting that allows the county to keep the levy low and provide vital services for its people. The annual REV grants through First National Bank in Clinton are administered by the DeWitt County Development Council and were awarded last month. On the WHOW Morning Show Monday, Executive Director Kurt Homan told Regional Radio there were 4 recipients of those grants this year. He feels it's always exciting to hear the ideas of local business owners and be able to help them realize goals to make their businesses better.
REV grants went incredibly well once again, and we had 4 recipients of some funds this year, and glad to announce Leading Men Fiber Arts, Jumpstart Nutrition, Dance Extreme, and C&P Custom Printing were all winners of this year's REV competition. REV grant is a partnership with First National Bank and Trust here in Clinton, and we had approximately 16 applicants, and most of those were exceptional. We really could have had probably 12 or so different presenters, but they do narrow that down. That does get narrowed down to 4. So picked 4 of the best and brought them in for a competition. And this year, and it's not always the case, but this year all 4 did receive some fun. Really, it comes up with REV as sort of ignite or rev up your business, and so they're looking for projects that will ignite sales, make the business more productive, offer some product or service maybe that isn't available locally, but really an idea and a focus on improving one's business. So those take it's kind of general in nature, so that could take a lot of different approaches. Sometimes it's a product, sometimes it's a computer operating system, sometimes it's with Leading Men's it's their own branded product. So which is really cool. I mean that's a fantastic thing for Clinton and DeWitt County.
Homan highlights the 4 winners, 3 of which have shops on the square.
C&P Custom Printing, they had a new piece of equipment that they were eyeing, and while the grant didn't cover all of that piece of equipment, it did cover a significant portion. Dance Extreme needed some new heating and cooling for their space. Jumpstart Nutrition, if I remember correctly, was some operational software, some point of sale computer equipment. Okay. And again, Leading Men Fiber Arts, they'll have their own branded line of fabric.
Just be
yarn.
So mad.
It's yarn. Their own branded yarn.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. They're moved locations, and I'm excited to continue to see great things from them for sure. Dance Extreme and Jumpstart are both on the square as well.
As the REV grant process has now wrapped up for the DCDC for 2023, they'll turn their attention to 2024, where Homan says they're planning to award a record $50,000 in grants. We'll have more on that with Homan later this week on Regional Radio. Yesterday on Regional Radio, we heard from Paula Giles as she reflects on her career and upcoming retirement from the DeWitt County Friendship Center. Lori Hireman will be the new executive director of the Friendship Center and says she's been a Clinton resident for 30 years, probably best known for her banking career in Clinton, but most recently worked at the DeWitt County DMV.
Well, I'm mostly known for my banking career in town. And we are originally from Peoria and have been here about 30 years now. So suffice to say, I think that makes us a Clintonite. Yes, for the region's closed. So I was there when it was several banks in that same building. So I went to another bank in Decatur. And the last few years I spent at our DMV here in Clinton.
Hireman indicates she is most looking forward to continuing those trips the Friendship Center is known for. The Friendship Center will have a week trip to Mackinac Island next October.
Actually, what that does is it increases
The people, and I'm glad they have a place to come and fellowship with each other. I think that's probably going to be my favorite thing, and they've made it quite clear they're ready to go on those little day trips that Paul is all about. And it's worth just to stop in and have a cup of coffee and check out the Christmas trees because they're really beautiful. They do a great
This
job.
time of the year is awesome.
It really is.
Yeah.
7+ Christmas trees, decorations all over the place. It's
Hireman invites the public to stop by the Friendship Center this week to wish Giles well in her retirement and stop in the coming weeks and introduce themselves to her. News time is 20 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Tuesday. Plenty more coming your way next on the WHOW Morning Show.
At Baum Chevrolet Buick, above and beyond is standard practice. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton and Farmer City. When you shop for a vehicle, there's nothing standard about it. You simply don't do it every day. That's why our sales staff will ask questions, listen, and help you find the transportation solution that checks all the right boxes. Come see our selection and start your search for a new Chevrolet or Buick today. BaumChevyBuick.com. Right from the start.
News time is 20 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Tuesday. Again, I'm Seth Lawrence with you folks today for this expanded local newscast. The Illinois Farm Bureau has elected a new president at its annual meeting this week. Brian Duncan has served the past 6 years as the Illinois Farm Bureau vice president and says he's ready to serve every member of the organization.
I'm here to serve and work for every member, period. And every member is important and valuable to this organization. We cherish and treasure and do our best to serve our members. That's the point of this organization. And so I look forward to providing that level of service for all members, no matter where they are, no matter who they supported in the election. Doesn't matter to me. If you're an Illinois Farm Bureau member, a member of your local county Farm Bureau, you are precious in my sight.
Duncan will now serve a 2-year term. Evan Hutline of Bureau County was elected as the vice president. Duncan fills the seat left after Rich Giebert served the maximum 10 consecutive years. The Illinois Farm Bureau annual meeting in Chicago includes a discussion meet. Here's more from the RFD Radio Network's Jim Taylor.
The winner, Austin Granby from the Kendall Grundy County Farm Bureau.
It's a little bit of shock. A little bit of relief. I've been doing this for several years now. We were talking about it earlier, maybe 6-7 times I've done this. So been on the Final Four stage a few times. To finally get the win is huge relief, huge honor. I really look up to a lot of the past winners and a lot of the competitors. So to have this award bestowed upon me, it's really awesome.
So what do you think the difference was of getting you over the top here in 2023?
I'll tell you exactly what it was. When I was a younger man and spent time focusing on this, it was a competition, and I was just looking to win. And right now, as I sit here, I'm the chairman of our County Young Leaders, and to be able to actually take what we talked about and put it into practice, that was the most important thing. I was looking for true solutions, not to win a contest. And when we do that, or when I do that, I really was able to focus on what is going to make a difference in agriculture, I feel like, and that's what really helped me, I think, not only have a personal touch to it, but have real-life solutions that people could agree with.
So give me some of the highlights of maybe some of the talking points this weekend for you where you thought, I really feel good about where I'm at with this.
So when we were there was a question talking about keeping close ties to elected officials, and it was actually, it was pretty inspiring, and it felt good when I was up there because I gave so many personal examples of what our young leaders in our county was doing. And so I could talk about our Adopt a Legislator program that the young leaders are heading up, talked about the elected official farm tour that we participate in and have a heavy hand in helping with. So that was awesome to realize, like, oh, this is working. This is a cool moment that I can share with the whole state about what we're doing to make a difference.
Can you hit on this a little bit, can you talk about the value of discussion meet and discussing these topics with fellow young leaders?
It's invaluable. We live in such a polarized time in our country where discussion just doesn't happen. Conversation just doesn't happen as much as it should. And I look at our numbers in the discussion meet. This year we had 18 participants, 17 that can make it to the state level, and we need to have that be 4 or 5 times that amount, because we need to be creating leaders that can have conversations, not that are looking to have their talking points be heard and to own somebody, if you want to use what the kids are saying now. We want to have conversations, meaningful conversations that lead to compromise and progress.
Ranby will represent Illinois during the American Farm Bureau Federation's discussion meet in Salt Lake City, Utah in January. For the RFD Radio Network at the Illinois Farm Bureau annual meeting in Chicago, I'm Jim Taylor.
And the meeting wraps up today in Chicago. Some firewood advice from the winter heating season has arrived. Ken Johnson is a horticulture educator at the University of Illinois Extension and has some storage tips.
Yes, there's a couple things you can do. You want to stack your firewood off the ground. The insects that are getting into that wood, especially the borers and the termites and the carpenter ants, they like fresher wood or wood that's a little more wet, not dried out as much. If you keep that off the ground, let it dry out faster, it's going to be less hospitable for those insects to getting into. Try to avoid stacking firewood against your house, your garage, any kind of structure or something like that. Also helps dry out faster, and it helps prevent those insects that may be in there from getting into your home, infesting your house, something like that. You can also, as you're bringing firewood in, only bring it in as needed, maybe a day or two's worth. Don't bring in 2 or 3 weeks worth at a time. You're not going to be able to use that quick enough. The longer that stuff is inside, the more likelihood that anything that is in that firewood or on that firewood is going to warm up and start emerging. And the big thing is, if you don't want to apply any pesticides to your firewood, one that's going to be off-label use, and two, anything that there's any residues on there, when you burn that, that's going to create harmful fumes potentially when that's burned and potentially cause some problems for you. So don't use pesticides if nothing else.
Get more tips at extension.illinois.edu/firewood. Republicans, like Illinois Congressman Darren LaHood, want to include border security in an aid package designed for the Middle East. But with a Democrat-controlled Senate and a Republican-controlled House, that could be difficult. For the Dunlap Republican, he's taking a wait-and-see approach to a new aid package.
It's hard for me to go back to my constituents and justify giving money to foreign countries like Israel or Ukraine, but not doing anything about our southern border. I think it's really hard to make that argument, and I am of the opinion that we need to fix our southern border. We need to take care of America, before we think about sending money overseas. We want to see comprehensive change at the southern border. We want to make sure we're stopping the flow of illegal migrants coming across the border and the problems it's causing throughout the United States. We've seen it in Chicago. Essentially, cities across the country are becoming border cities. And so, again, I'm going to take a wait-and-see approach before I commit to how I'm going to vote on any of that funding.
Cities like Chicago are scrambling to find housing for hundreds of asylum seekers. Governor Pritzker and Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson have set aside $150 million for migrants. One expert says USDA's new 2023 farm income forecast raises some concerns for 2024. Gary Crawford has this report.
USDA says net cash farm income this year will be about 21% below last year's record high at just under $158 billion. However,
it's still above the long-term average.
And still leaves the farm sector in reasonably good shape this year. But USDA's chief economist, Seth Meyer, told me he's a little bit worried about 2024.
I'm an economist, and I'm a worrier. I always worry about these things.
And he gets paid to look into the future and, yes, to worry about it. And he says, first, for farm commodity prices,
we see prices coming down. So I do, again, continue to worry about margins that we'll achieve on the farm. So we might even expect a reversion to something smaller in terms of net farm income. I might even just from a momentum standpoint anticipate some further declines.
But that's strictly unofficial. We'll get USDA's first official forecast for 2024 on February 7th, so mark your new calendars. Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
Let's take a look at today's obituaries. 72-year-old Betty Lou Terrell of Hayworth passed away December 2nd at Manor Court in Clinton. Services for 72-year-old Betty Lou Terrell will be at 11 a.m. Thursday, December 7th at Calvert Funeral Home in Clinton with Pastor Danny Roberts officiating. Burial will follow at DeLand Cemetery in DeLand. The visitation will be from 10 to 11 a.m. Thursday at the funeral home. Memorials can be directed to the Hayworth Christian Church or the Piatt County Nursing Home. News time is 29 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Tuesday. Coverage of news is brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters, and the morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Get the latest in local news anytime from your computer or mobile device at DeWittDailyNews.com. We come up on 7:30. Network News is now.
With SRN News, I'm Rich.